We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. President Trump warns Hamas that it will be eradicated if it breaches Gaza deal with Israel. Vice President J.D. Vance heads to Israel to talk to Netanyahu as body of one hostage handed over as part of U.S. brokered ceasefire. US and Australia signed rare earths deal to counter China's dominance as Trump promises submarines. Japan coalition deal paves way for Takaichi to be first woman prime minister as voting for new PM to take place today. Amazon.com cloud service returns to normal operations after internet outage causes global turmoil among thousands of sites. And on to the details now. US President Donald Trump has warned that Hamas would be eradicated if it breaches the Gaza deal with Israel. Trump's comments came as Vice President J.D. Vance headed to Israel to join two senior US envoys who traveled there after weekend violence threatened to break the agreement. Trump criticized Hamas for recent actions in Gaza, including alleged public executions of rivals and collaborators, and for what he described as violent behavior during the fragile transitional period. Well, President Trump said he wanted to see the truce to be given some time to hold, but signaled that the United States and allies were ready to act if Hamas violated the deal.
We have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have a peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that.
Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he will discuss regional challenges and opportunities with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. Addressing Israel's parliament, the Knesset in Jerusalem, Netanyahu has expressed his intention to collaborate with President Trump on advancing peace agreements in the region. He also mentioned the 16 slain hostages in Hamas captivity, calling for the urgent need to bring all remaining captives home.
We will discuss mainly two issues, about the security challenges we are facing and about the political opportunities we are facing. We will overcome the challenges and will realize the opportunities. 16 slain hostages remain in Gaza, of which 2 are foreign citizens from Thailand and Tanzania, and 14 Israeli citizens.
Well, a convoy carrying a body handed over by Hamas in Gaza, said to be of a deceased hostage, arrived at Israel's National Center of Forensic Medicine in Tel Aviv on Monday night. The remains of the hostages sent to the National Institute of Forensic Medicine, where identification procedures will be carried out. Under a U.S.-mediated agreement to end the war in Gaza and release hostages, Hamas released 20 living hostages and was to release 48 slain hostages, but as of Monday night, has only handed 14 bodies. One of them was not of a hostage. Now, in exchange for the hostages, Israel released nearly 2,000 convicted Palestinian prisoners and detainees, among other steps under the deal. Well, the body of the Nepalese student Bipin Joshi, who was taken hostage by Hamas since October 7, 2023, was returned to Kathmandu on Monday. Joshi arrived to Israel at the age of 23 to study agriculture. 3 weeks after arriving, he was kidnapped by Hamas. His body was handed over by Hamas to Israel last Monday. Mourners previously paid their respect to him during a memorial service on Sunday in Israel. His relatives, interim Nepalese Prime Minister Sushila Karki and Israeli Ambassador to Nepal, Shmulik Eri Bas, attended the ceremony. Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met on Monday with U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The meeting came after weekend violence threatened to wreck a fragile U.S. brokered ceasefire in Gaza. The Israeli spokesperson in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office, Shos Bedroshian, stated that the state of Israel will not accept any violations of the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, and the IDF will respond with force to any violation that endangers the security of our soldiers and its citizens.
The state of Israel will not accept any violations of the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, and the IDF will respond with force to any violation that endangers the security of our soldiers and its citizens. Now, following the series of attacks in response to Hamas violating the ceasefire and attacking our soldiers, around 9 p.m. Sunday Israel time, the IDF began the renewed enforcement of the ceasefire. We will not only continue to uphold the ceasefire agreement, but we will enforce it. Let it be known and understood.
Well, Israel's National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir on Monday called for the enactment of a law allowing the death penalty for those convicted of terrorism. Now, as Israel's parliament opened its winter session, Ben-Gvir urged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to resume intense military operations in Gaza and dismantle Hamas. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese signed a critical minerals agreement on Monday as part of a wide-ranging critical minerals agreement signed with the aim of countering China's hold over the industry. Now, both the countries will contribute $1 billion over the next 6 months for joint projects. The U.S. Export-Import Bank, Exim, said it sent 7 letters of interest totaling more than $2.2 billion to advance U.S.-aligned critical minerals project in Australia. Australia also said in a statement that it would provide up to $200 million in concessional equity financing for the project, which includes offtake rights for the Australian government, while the US would also make an equity investment with offtake rights.
We are discussing critical minerals and rare earths, and we're going to be signing an agreement that's been negotiated over a period of 4 or 5 months. And it was sort of good timing that we got it done just in time for the visit. And we worked together very much on rare earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things.
Well, amidst all this, as the U.S.-China trade war intensifies, soybeans and rare earths have emerged as flashpoints in a high-stakes geopolitical standoff. With China halting American soybean imports and tightening control over rare earth exports, President Trump has responded with sharp rhetoric and strategic pressure. Well, the upcoming Trump-Xi meeting in South Korea could be pivotal, but allies remain wary of the fallout. Meanwhile, farmers reel from economic strain and global supply chains brace for impact.
China imports 61% of global soya beans. The US once sent 31% of its crop there. Used in feed and oil, soya beans are strategic. In response to US tariffs, China stopped buying from the US, turning to Brazil and Argentina instead. US farmers now face low prices, high costs, and drought-driven hardship.
One of the things I want is China's going to buy soybeans. I want China to stop with the fentanyl. Very, normal things. I don't want them to play the rare earth game with us.
But you want them to, but do you think they will make a deal on soybeans?
I do believe, because otherwise I'm not going to make a deal. No, I want them to buy. Our farmers have been boycotted by China as a negotiating point. I don't want that. Our farmers are great, and in particular our soybean farmers, and I want them to start buying soybeans at least in the amount that they were buying before. And I believe they'll be able to do that.
China produces 70% of rare earths and processes 90%, giving it global control. The US says China uses this as trade leverage. Trump warned of national security risks. China now restricts items with over 0.1% rare earth magnets, even if made abroad, affecting electronics, EVs, and machinery. Exporters need Chinese approval, adding global compliance hurdles.
And so you see many of the allies sort of caught in a trap where they both want the US and China to come to some kind of deal, but they're all very concerned about their exposure to the consequences of that deal, because I think the general perception is Donald Trump, the Trump administration in Washington, is out for itself. It is America first.
China's economy grew 4.8% year-on-year in Q3, with quarterly growth at 1.1% beating forecasts. Momentum is fading due to property woes, weak spending and trade tensions. The Trump-Xi meeting at the APEC summit in South Korea October 29 to November 1 is still scheduled, despite tariff and export disputes. The summit may mark a shift in US-China ties. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the United States Trade Representative's Office announced potential tariffs of up to 100% on Nicaraguan imports, citing labor and human rights violations under the Ortega Murillo regime as barriers to United States commerce. The Section 301 investigation, initiated by former USTR Catherine Tai on December 10, 2024, highlighted issues like child labor, forced labor, human trafficking and suppression of union rights. Also, the office proposed suspending Nicaragua's benefits under the Central American Dominican Republic Free Trade Agreement, potentially reverting to higher most favored nation tariffs. Also in 2024, the United States imported $4.6 billion in Nicaraguan goods with a $1.9 billion trade deficit. President Donald Trump will decide the final measures with public comments accepted until November 19, 2025. And Argentina's central bank signed a $20 billion exchange rate stabilization agreement with the U.S. Treasury Department 6 days ahead of a key midterm election. The agreement sets forth terms for bilateral currency swap operations between the U.S. and Argentina. The arrangement with banks and investment funds would be backed by International Monetary Fund, special drawing rights held in the Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund that will be converted to dollars. Also, the central bank, BCRA, lauds that such operations will allow the BCRA to expand its set of monetary and exchange rate policy instruments, including the liquidity of its international reserves. Also, the BCRA said the pact was part of a comprehensive strategy to enhance its ability to respond to foreign exchange and capital markets volatility. Well, a divided U.S. appeals court ruled that Donald Trump can send National Guard troops into Portland, Oregon, despite objections by the leaders of the city and state, giving the Republican president an important legal victory as he dispatches military forces to a growing number of Democratic-led locals. Now, a three-judge panel of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals granted the Justice Department's request to put on hold a judge's order that had blocked the deployment while a legal challenge to Trump's action plays out. The court said that sending in the National Guard was an appropriate response to protesters who had damaged a federal building and threatened U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement officers. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. U.S. stocks jumped on Monday as tech and financials lead. S&P 500 gains 1.07% amid renewed risk appetite. As U.S. shutdown enters historic fourth week, nuclear security operations hit by furloughs and political deadlock. And Louvre Museum rejects report of contacting Israeli firm in jewel theft probe.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on. In Japan, conservative Sine Takaichi is set to become Japan's first female prime minister on Tuesday. This comes after the Japan Innovation Party, a right-wing opposition group, announced its support for her leadership. Along with Japan Innovation Party, Isshin Takaichi's governing Liberal Democratic Party holds a combined 231 seats in Parliament's dominant lower house. The new coalition number is too short of a majority, but the tally is almost certainly enough for Takaichi to win Tuesday's Parliament vote for the next Prime Minister. Well, Takaichi said she was looking forward to working with Isshin to strengthen Japan's economy and ensure a better future for the next generations, as stated after signing the coalition agreement in Tokyo.
It is now thanks to the remarkable efforts of Mr. Yoshimura and Mr. Fujita, all members of the Japan Innovation Party, as well as the cooperation of my fellow parliamentarians and the executives of the LDP, that we have been able to conclude and sign this policy agreement. I consider this a very significant step forward. From this moment onward, we will work tirelessly to drive Japan forward.
While moving on, Amazon.com cloud service returned to normal operations on Monday afternoon after an internet outage that caused global turmoil among thousands of sites, including some of the web's most popular apps like Snapchat and Reddit. Now, this was the largest internet disruption since last year's CrowdStrike malfunction hobbled technology systems in hospitals, banks and airports, highlighting the vulnerability of the world's interconnected technologies. Now, according to Amazon AMZN.O, some AWS services had a backlog of messages that would take a few hours to process. AWS outage has affected major websites and apps globally. Users had complained of lingering difficulties using services such as digital wallet Venmo and video calling site Zoom. The root cause had been traced to US East 1 region. It was at least the third time in 5 years that AWS's Northern Virginia cluster, known as US East 1, contributed to a major internet meltdown. Amazon did not address a request for more clarity about why that particular data center keeps being impacted. The problem stemmed from what is known as the domain name system, or DNS, which prevented applications from finding the correct address for AWS's DynamoDB API, a cloud database relied upon to store user information and other critical data. And US stocks jumped on Monday, with finance and technology shares providing much of the upside muscle that resulted in the revived risk appetite, and investors grew less fearful about regional bank credit quality. According to the preliminary data, the S&P 500 gained 1.07%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 1.37%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 1.11%. Apple stock touched a record high, while Meta, Netflix and Alphabet posted solid gains. Third quarter earnings season has shifted into third high gear. Meanwhile, in Asian markets, the yen held steady on Tuesday ahead of a parliament vote in Japan later in the day. Currencies were mostly range-bound in the early Asian session, with the dollar little changed as an ongoing US government shutdown left investors flying blind on data ahead of next week's Federal Reserve meeting. And as the US government shutdown entered its 21st day in the fourth week on Tuesday, marking the longest full closure in history, the National Nuclear Security Administration began furloughing 1,400 employees, leaving only 375 essential staff. This unprecedented move, the first since the agency's 2000 creation, affects sites like Pantex in Texas and Y-12 National Security Complex in Tennessee, responsible for maintaining America's 5,177 nuclear warheads, including 1,770 deployed ones. Well, amid escalating tensions, Senate Democrats rejected a House-passed funding bill for the 11th time in a 50-43 vote, demanding renewal of health care subsidies for 24 million Americans. U.S. President Trump urged the Democrats to compromise, warning of further measures, while House Speaker Mike Johnson highlighted national security risks. And the Louvre Museum on Monday denied contacting Israeli intelligence from CGI Group following a high-profile jewel heist at the Paris Museum. CGI Group, based in Tel Aviv, claimed the museum had sought its help in identifying the thieves and recovering 9 stolen pieces, citing the firm's past success with a similar case in Dresden in 2019. The Louvre, however, stated it had made no such request. CGI CEO later suggested the approach may have come through intermediaries, possibly linked to the museum's insurers or other associated entities. CGI made similar claim of involvement in the Dresden case, which that museum also denied. French police are currently searching for 4 suspects who stole several priceless items, including a diamond-covered crown that was dropped during their escape. And it's lights, laughter and limitless joy across the globe as Diwali, the festival of lights, illuminated hearts and horizons from Shanghai to Sydney. Here's how the world joined in the celebration of India's most radiant festival. Take a look.
Celebrations erupted across continents as Diwali lit up skies and spirits worldwide. From Asia to Europe, the Festival of Lights was marked with grandeur, color and cultural splendor. In Shanghai, the Consulate General of India and the Indian Association hosted the region's largest ever Diwali celebration with over 800 guests joining for Lakshmi Puja, cultural performances and a feast of Indian delicacies that won hearts across communities. In Japan, the Indian embassy turned festive cheer into melody with music, dance, quizzes and fireworks lighting up the night sky as the Indian diaspora celebrated together. Across Sri Lanka, Diwali joy resonated through dance, music and cuisine as President Anura Kumara Dishanayake extended warm greetings to the Indian community. Taking to social media platform X, he wrote, and I quote, "On this blessed Deepavali, my warmest wishes to all Hindus in Sri Lanka and abroad. As lamps are lit in every home, we pray that this festival's light dispels the darkness in our hearts and illuminates our collective path. This celebration of good over evil mirrors our government's resolve to defeat the threats to our nation's progress from drug abuse to extremism. We are committed to building a safe, just and thriving nation where every individual's freedom and dignity are preserved." Meanwhile, Dubai sparkled brighter than ever. Streets, markets and landmarks dazzled with lights and decor as residents and visitors soaked in the festive spirit. UAE Prime Minister and Dubai's ruler Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum conveyed his Diwali wishes, celebrating the triumph of light over darkness. In a statement, he said, and I quote, "Warmest wishes and greetings to those celebrating Diwali in the UAE and around the world. May this festival of lights bring peace, safety and prosperity to you and your loved ones. Happy Diwali." Meanwhile, the Australian High Commission hosted a vibrant celebration, calling it a celebration to remember. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese too shared his heartfelt Diwali greetings.
I wish everyone a very happy Diwali. As you gather to celebrate the great Festival of Lights, may this special time uplift you with hope for a bright future. May it be an absolutely wonderful celebration.
Global leaders joined in, celebrating Diwali's universal message of hope, renewal and positivity. New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon extended warm wishes to all celebrating the Festival of Lights.
Happy Diwali everyone. As families and friends come together all across New Zealand to celebrate the Festival of Lights, I want to take a moment to acknowledge what this time represents. Of course, it is about the triumph of light over darkness, hope over despair and good over evil. It's also a time to reflect, to reconnect and to spread happiness and positivity in our lives, and the world needs a lot of that. So I'm wishing you and all of your loved ones a wonderful Diwali and a prosperous year ahead. Happy Diwali.
United Nations also wished Indians Happy Diwali. In a post on X, the Global Bloc said, and I quote, "During Diwali, the Festival of Lights celebrated in India and by followers of many faiths around the world. Clay lamps are symbolically lit. We wish a happy and safe Diwali to all those celebrating." From temples to towers, from hearts to horizons, Diwali once again proved that light knows no borders. As the world glows in festive joy, the spirit of Diwali shines brighter than ever. Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
But on to some sports news now. Israeli club Maccabi Tel Aviv has stated that they will not accept any away fan tickets for the Europa League match at Aston Villa next month, even if local authorities reverse the decision to ban their supporters. Now, the ban followed safety concerns raised by British police, who cited potential protest outside Villa Park following demonstrations at Israel's recent World Cup qualifier match. Aston Villa announced the decision last week, saying they were following instructions from the Safety Advisory Group, who are responsible for issuing safety certificates for games at Villa Park. Aston Villa are third in the Europa League standings, while Maccabi Tel Aviv are 30th after 2 rounds. And West Indies pace sensation Shamar Joseph has been ruled out of the ongoing 3-match series against Bangladesh due to shoulder injury. Joseph was eyeing a return to international cricket this weekend after missing the Test tour of India. However, the pacer has suffered another setback due to discomfort in his shoulder. Joseph was also included in the T20 international squad. However, he's been advised to consult a specialist to begin his rehabilitation process. Before the Bangladesh tour, Joseph had missed the 2-match test series in India owing to an unspecified injury. He's not played any competitive cricket since the conclusion of the Caribbean Premier League in September. And the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in India hosted a vibrant Diwali celebration at its premises in New Delhi, fostering cultural exchange and unity among the staff, colleagues and friends. Ambassador Marisa Gerards and team members participated in traditional rituals, including lighting diyas and performing aarti with marigold lamps, as captured in shared photos. Well, other embassies in Delhi, including Germany, joined in annual Diwali observances, highlighting international solidarity. German ambassador to India, Dr. Philip Ackermann, shared a vibrant video on X showcasing a Diwali celebration at the German embassy. The event featured traditional Indian decorations, dancing and cultural performances as well, highlighting the festival's themes of light and unity. Ackermann emphasized the importance of cross-cultural exchange, noting how Indian colleagues invited German staff to join the festivities.
It's a great feast.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Kuran from 100% in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.